Okay guys, so this is task 1.15. So in this task, again we have shadows, we have to pass through shadows. And then on this task, we have to draw realistic shapes using right angle tool. As you can see, there is like multi-layered setup here. But since the walls are not kind of visible, um, there's no need to multi-layer this one. So this is the actual result, and then we're gonna go into the actual task. So in drawing this task, we have to use right angle tool F. Okay, I'm gonna change the color here first for you to see. Okay, so F, and then as you can see, I'm still using right angle tool. Okay, and then I have to switch to S here because of the task. I mean, you can't draw that using right angle tool, so I'm gonna go back to F. Okay, so that is how you draw this task. Actually, there's another way of drawing this. So okay, I'm gonna show you another way. So right angle tool again. Okay, I could just like do this. Okay, do that, and then I select here and then delete this point. I specify this point and then press 2. That is 2. Okay, when you want to add some point, you press 1. When you want to delete a point, you press 2. Okay, so that is another way of drawing this task. Okay, so that is task 1.15. Thank you. Okay guys, so this is task 1.22. So on this task, we have to draw the task first as a whole, and then we using right angle tool, of course, and then we need to cut it using cut tool because this is a townhouse, and then townhouses needs to be cut based on visible building edges, of course. So let's proceed to the actual task, and I'm gonna show you how. Okay, so on this task, we have to use right angle tool first, so F. Okay, I'm gonna change again. Right angle tool first. Okay, so notice that I'm using the edges as guide and not the points. Okay, and then on my last point, I'm using the first point as a guide, and then I just space. Okay, so here I want to locate the most possible clearest edge. Okay, so I want to put it here, and then I'm using right angle tool again, and then I'm tracing it. Guys, one technique that I want to share is in drawing this task, you have to be mindful of the split that you are going to do later. So since I'm going to cut here later, I'm going to put it here, put my mouse here, just like what I'm doing with the edges. Okay, so since I'm going to cut that later, I'm thinking of future ways wherein my job will be easier. Okay, so point to point again, as you can see. I'm just going through the entire task, doing that edge to edge, point to point, making it very easy to cut later. So I'm using T to cut, T, and then point to point. You see that? That's very straight because I had preparations for that one, which is placing my mouse earlier on the right places. And then T, and then you see that is straight. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again here. So I'm gonna find the most clear edge, and then I'm gonna do it once again, right angle tool, and then you see my examples, I'm using point to point or point to edge. Okay, so that was a mistake there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is cut again. I'm going to use okay, point to point and cut, point to point and cut, okay, cut, point to point and cut, and point to point and cut. Okay, so that is task. Okay, there's still more. So that is why you need to start on the very clear edges, because there might be some mistakes in your drawing. Okay, you see that one? I'm using T again. Okay, so you might think that it's not straight, but actually that is straight, because the shape of the building is it's taken like from downward to the top, so it's gonna look like that. But what I did was, since I use point to point, that is gonna be straight from the top view. Okay, so that is why you need to draw your buildings. You have to plan ahead on how you will cut it later. So planning is very important also in doing this. As you progress on the team, you will be able to do that naturally, of course. So that is task 1.22. Okay guys, so this is task 1.33. So on this task, this is a good task because the examples that it shows, trees, we have to run over trees. Right angle tool, we have to use right angle tool. We need to use cut. We need to use square tool or E tool or rectangular tool or whatever you'd like to call it. So on this task, you will be tested to do all of those things. Okay, so let's jump into the task. Okay, so on this task, you have to take note that this building are hidden in trees, and probably we get to have projects that has image qualities that are not good, that such as this is not a really good image quality, but we make compromises. Okay, so what we need to do is, here is, I used it E here. Okay, so we need to follow the correct edges. So I'm using right angle tool again. Okay, so that is the main tool that you are going to use. So what you see right now is I'm using point or edges as my guide for me to cut straight into the future. Okay, okay, so I'm going to cut now. T, I click point to point and then space, point to point and then space. Okay, so what I do there is I plan my future cuts. So I make points wherein I'm going to cut in the future. So that will make my labeling good and straight. Okay, so I'm going to use right angle here again. As you can see, the edge here is not really clear, but the edge here is clear, and then the edge here is clear. So what I'm going to do is base it here, and then I'm going to base it here. Okay, it's easier to look for edges than look for points. Okay, and then I'm going to use this as a guide. Okay, so that was not a really good edge. Okay, so I'm just gonna follow this because this is really straighter. Okay, so I'm going to adjust this one, basing it here. Okay, okay, so that is straight. Okay, so I'm going to use T again. Cut, point to point, and then cut. Okay, so that is how you draw this task. So you have to finish all of these tasks on your own. So that is how you draw task 1.33.